running never did much good. Hiding doesn't last forever. You can't run faster when it's you you're running from. So you throw your hands up like doves to the setting sun. Somewhere down the stars are falling like jewels upon a thin black veil. You'll find the mysteries enthralling. 5 seconds seems like 5 billion years. 10,000 galaxies away, yet still so near.
Welcome to Karen Holton's podcast. Karen permanently lost 178 pounds and found happiness and success by following her own advice. She has now developed that advice into the quantum health transformation. Heal, evolve, and thrive. Karen's website offers a free webinar workshop series, and you'll also find tools, methods, and practices to assist you to become the change you want to see in the world. She believes that we are all connected. Heal the planet by healing yourself. Connect with Karen at her website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, and through Facebook at Facebook.com/Quantum Health Transformation. Now for the podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Quantum Health Transformation version 3.0. Today, we're going to delve into step 9, and I'm going to teach you how to use the Nubby Ball tool. And I also want to welcome my students. My guests today are Don Rogers and Canadian Spinja. Hi, guys. How you doing today?
Hello.
Great.
Good.
Happy to be here. Thank you. We've got our Nubby balls.
Oh, good. I was thinking
Yes.
of having t-shirts made that say, grab your nubby balls, or I've got nubby balls, with two big, anyway, never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go into the screen share. I'm going to screen share, and we're just going to go through the actual PDF. So those of you that are taking this free online course, the instructional information is in video format. So there's going to be, there is a workshop video like what we're recording today. And there's also going to be just an instructional tutorial video to go along with it as well. But if you want the PDFs, they're available from my website shop. And I am charging $3.99 each for the PDFs because it helps to bring in a little bit of money to help cover my expenses in order for me to present and have this program available. And I want to remind everybody, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel and like this video if you feel it's of benefit. And please do share it with your friends and your family and everybody that you think will benefit from it. So without further ado, we'll jump into the screen share. Can everybody see this okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it starts off with an overview, which we went through last time, and the link to the overview or the orientation will be in the description below, by the way. So will all of my links and links to Don and Spinja's channel as well. So you can watch that if you haven't done so already to get an overview. But I include this as a sort of a landing page with each step of the program. And today is step 9, black, introduction to the Nubby Ball tool and light shadow integration. And it starts off with a welcome. This PDF primer is meant to accompany the corresponding live recorded video workshop. And both primer and live Quantum Health Transformation version 3.0 workshops will be presented in descending number order when they're published or as they're published to my YouTube and my website. So start with step 9 and work your way down to do step 1 last. All the information presented in any quantum health transformation media was received in a download and was channeled from the Living Library, which is also known as the Akashic Records. Further, this material was downstepped and developed through the filter of my own personal life experience. So I just want to be really upfront, let you all know that I'm not an expert. I'm not a mathematician or a scientist. I'm a seeker of knowledge and wisdom. The Quantum Health Transformation Program is ideal for those who are awakening and for those who are experiencing ascension symptoms, but the content is beneficial for everyone who wishes to experience a better quality of life. This system of quantum health transformation works well for me. However, you must synthesize this information and take only that which serves you. At the very least, it is my hope that from this material, you'll be stimulated to seek your own inner wisdom. Here's an image of me back in 2007, where I had a photograph taken of me and my aura. The other thing too is this program is not copyrighted, and so you can use it under the fair use clause in your own teachings and learnings, but please do give credit to me, and I'll be happy with that. And if you want to help to support my work, you can ask your clients, your customers, your friends to purchase PDF copies of the presentation from my website shop. So we'll get into the program now. Introduction to the Nubby Ball, a tool for analysis and integration. And it all started when I was having difficulty navigating certain social situations. So I asked my guides for help. Quite often when I'm in the social arena, people act in certain ways that I don't understand. Sometimes they say things and you could take it this way or that way. I wasn't really sure how to take people sometimes. And so I asked my guides for help. Excuse me. So in my mind's eye, they presented me with an image of a sphere suspended in space. I was then asked to imagine that I could see the other person's viewpoint from a specific social interaction, and then to plot this as a point on the sphere. I was then asked to imagine what the opposite position or vantage point might be on the opposite side of the sphere. I did so, and as I focused on the sphere, it became a nubby ball with infinite points or nubs covering it all over. So literally, this happened like an overlay, and it happened like a lucid dream, but I was completely awake. But I could see this illusion in front of me, and it was quite amazing. I very quickly came to see that there were as many positions or points of view for any given social situation as there were nubs, an infinite and undetermined amount, really. And suddenly it was obvious to me that it was ludicrous to try to see the whole truth from looking at only one nub or perspective. Only by considering the entirety of the issue was I approaching truth. It also became apparent that I could in no way determine the true complexity of the motives that another person might have from any single vantage point. Truth, by the way, is a plural concept. It was never meant to be considered from a single position. To flesh issues out further, I was asked to plot on the same sphere several other possible perspective positions, as I might imagine them to be for my issue. It now became even clearer to me that I had no way of correctly identifying or completely understanding the motives and behaviors of other people. What I had been seeing was a projection of things as they made sense to me. So, you'll get people arguing over something and they both swear they're right. It's because they're looking at it only from their vantage point, only from their perspective. If they could truly see the other person's perspective, they would then see that there's no point to argue. This realization led to several conclusions. First of all, there's no point of assigning intention to others because I don't really know what they experience in life, how they see things, or what their true motives might be. I can guess, but only by seeing each issue as one of infinite nubs on a sphere can I come close to understanding that their perspective is complex and it's not for me to try to figure out. Their motives and intentions are really none of my business. My perceptions are mine alone to care for and adjust as I see fit. So although we allow other people to have their perspectives, we don't necessarily have to go down rabbit holes of trying to understand how they see things, why they see them the way they do. Just accept that's how they see it. That's how it is for them. It's just a lot less stress. Further, only by considering the various perspectives of an issue as infinite points or nubs on a ball could I get a glimpse of the truer, more comprehensive whole. As I practiced with many issues and situations, I realized that I could use this tool to gain greater understanding of life on many different levels. Only by crudely considering the entirety as displayed by this tool could I approach truth, especially my truth. Continued use of the Nubby Ball tool led me to understand that everything is fractal in nature, and this tool allows us to see our own fractal flow. We are, and everything we perceive is divinity diversified. I didn't realize it at the time, but the Nubby Ball tool also represents a tesseract. A tesseract is infinity cycled through what we perceive as finite space and time. So this flow is always happening in and out of everything, everyone, everything all the time. And it's how infinity and eternity are cycled through finite space and time. At levels of reality from the subatomic Planck level to the universal expanse, it all follows the same dynamic flow, and all beliefs, societies, and systems can be assessed with this model of analysis. As it is above, so it is below. As it is within, so it is without. And another name for the Nubby Ball tool process and the result is quantum holography. We have been taught that we live in a duality, a binary system. Things are either good or bad, light or dark, up or down. Any binary concept considers only 2 points among infinite positions within the realm of possibility. Truth and balance are at the center, and so the more points we consider, the more we come to understand reality, socially as well as other aspects of life. The best we can do, being imperfect beings, is to plot the opposites of an issue or situation at the poles, and then consider as many additional points as we can on our Nubby Ball tool. This gives us a sense of the whole and leads to fourth and fifth dimensional thinking. So I want you to consider how reality is structured. So the point at the top on the left represents a point of awareness or being. It's 0 dimensions. When you move between 2 points, this represents movement, and this is the 1 dimension, length. When we can move up and down and back and forth, this represents movement between 4 points, 2 dimensions, height and width, as shown by the square. When you graduate down to looking at the cube, this represents movement between 8 points, and it gives us 3 dimensions, height, width, and depth. And here's the next dimensional level of reality, one that we can't necessarily perceive with our 3-dimensional senses. It's a Nubby Ball that's made up of an infinite number of 3-dimensional shapes, creating 4th and 5th dimensions and beyond. The procession of movement. A tesseract, which is shown by the 2 figures on the left-hand side of the screen. It's represented artistically. Obviously, they're not real tesseracts. A tesseract is infinity and eternity cycled through what we perceive as finite space and time. And as objects, beliefs, and systems pass through what we perceive as finite space and time, everything follows a procession of movement, which we perceive as cycles. So you will see that everything, the seasons, culture, the warming and cooling of the planet, everything follows cycles, little cycles within larger cycles within larger cycles. And this is how we're perceiving the movement through space and time. A nubby ball also represents an energetic toroidal field. At the center of the nubby ball is the source of all concepts, ideas, situations, etc. The central source is truth and balance, a unified whole. To glimpse at the complexity and interconnectedness of all there is, consider this. You and I are nubby balls. We each contain an energetic torus field. And yet we're also nubs on a greater nubby ball, which is part of a larger energetic torus field. And I'll give you an example. An example of this larger energetic torus field is consciousness. Every nub is also a nubby ball, yet all nubs connect to each other, forming ever more nubs on nubby balls, and so on, and so on, and so on. The entire energetic phenomena is conscious, and we call this chi, prana, scalar energy, orgone, Holy Spirit, and other names. As it is above, so it is below, as within, as without. A nubby ball is also a flower of life. It is dynamic, ever-changing, and evolving under influence. Excuse me, I got to sneeze. Sorry. There, got it out. So this is all very complex, and I don't expect you to just clearly see it in your mind's eye or understand it. It's just to give you an overview. And it's really impossible because even when you're plotting on your nubby ball, you're not making a perfect analysis. You're still seeing things from your own perspective, but it gives you an idea of what the whole is, and it's huge and it's complex. And it's not something that we're necessarily going to understand overnight. So you may want to come back and reread this and look at this lesson more than once. So let's bring it back to, let's bring this back to the nubby ball as a practical tool for analysis and integration by considering some of its possible uses. How and why you could use the nubby ball as a practical tool. It allows us to see more of an issue, situation, or way of being, grasping a more balanced sense of the whole. We may not have it absolutely accurate, but we're going to be a heck of a lot closer than when we're only looking at one tiny nub from one tiny perspective and judging the whole world through that view. Nubby ball plumps out the three-dimensional, revealing the dynamic, interconnected nature of all things. Use of the nubby ball assists us with overcoming our binary programming and our black-white, positive-negative, up-down, good-evil worldview, so we can see things as truly complex and dynamic. The nubby ball tool helps us to weed out the fallacies and allows for a greater degree of self-analysis, which helps us to build our character. This tool assists us to comprehend and upload complex data into our thinking schema. Nubby ball helps us to understand social issues, which may have caused us discomfort or awkwardness in the past. And it assists us to reconcile cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the discomfort a person feels when their behavior does not align with their values or their beliefs. And once we become aware, we can better align our behaviors and our values. The nubby ball tool allows us to more fully integrate that which we choose to believe. It offers us a way to look at issues more analytically and less emotionally. Nubby ball expands our awareness, leading us to powerful knowledge, and self-knowledge is true personal power. The nubby ball tool strongly illustrates why the standardizing bureaucracy of the economic, political, social construct is so limiting. The nubby ball tool dissolves conflict and it sharpens our critical thinking skills. So in other words, when we're told a piece of information from a so-called expert or political group, we can go, yeah, well, who's, says who? That's only one perspective. I'm feeling intuitively that things are quite different. And I'm thinking that maybe things are quite different. And it allows us to not feel that crazy making that comes from gaslighting and things like that. You do not need to believe anything in order to benefit from this tool. Don't worry about understanding the quantum aspects of the Nubby ball. Just pretend it works and give it a try. The more you practice, the easier it becomes, and soon it will be an automatic system for learning. Now, before we get into how to use the Nubby ball, I'm wondering if you have any questions or any comments about what we covered so far.
I was just my son's here, and he's taking this all in, and this is basically both, like, with both of us being empaths, we naturally look at things from all angles and put ourselves in other people's shoes. But this tool is helpful to refine that and be able to further explain how we're feeling, or how we view something.
Mm-hmm. And you can see where you can say, all right, I see your perspective, that, and you can look at it as one point on a Nubby ball, yet you may have an opposite perspective on the other side, and both are valid. There's room
Yeah.
for everything between the black and white, the up and down. There's room for all of our thoughts, and it helps us to create more harmony in our lives.
I also just wanted to point out, like, I think that's the most valid and articulate way I've ever heard of the, like, deconstruction on a microscopic level of the universe that surrounds us, in the comparison you made with the Nubby ball and everything that exists. It's a theory that I've often tried to explain, and I think you put it into the perfect wording.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I hope it's understandable. I've tried to simplify it as much as possible without putting everybody to sleep. So, but some people may need to come back and review this a second time. And it'll all make sense as the program with the different steps unfolds. It's all tied in together. So
Yeah.
I thought we could just get a little bit into how to use the Nubby Ball tool. So first of all, suspend your opinions for 5 minutes and pretend that the Nubby Ball tool works as I have described. So I'm not asking you to change your beliefs or change your worldview at this point. Just suspend your opinions and just give it a try. Next, visualize a Nubby ball clearly in your mind, or use an image like this, or you can use exactly a small tool. I have one here that I use, and I don't know if it's really visible. Yeah, there's visible on the camera. And it just really helps to keep my thoughts sorted, And so if you have a Nubby ball, or you visualize, or you can use an image like this, then take any social issue and divide it into two and extreme opposite viewpoints. So, it can be anything. Something, you may see something as being good or bad. You might see something as being right or wrong. You might see something, I don't know if you folks have any particular item you want to throw out there. You don't have to. I don't want to put you on the spot. But anything you want, you just divide it into, the two polar opposites, and just to start things off.
I'm kind of drawing a blank right off the top of my head.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. So this is just the mechanics, then we'll get a little bit more into it. So let's just say, for the heck of it, let's say north is good and south is evil. That we used to think in more black and white terms. Things are good or they're bad. They're good or they're evil. So we could plot, say, good at the North Pole and evil at the South Pole, just for the heck of it. Now consider your point of view. Plot where your honest position might be, and then plot the opposite of your position on the corresponding opposite side of the sphere. So for some people, they might they might say, okay, well, I don't think you should eat animals. I think everyone should be a vegan. And you might want to plot that somewhere on your nubby ball where it resonates with you. And then you might want to plot at the opposite side someone who thinks that eating meat is the best thing you could do and we shouldn't be eating the vegetables, just for an example. Now you're starting to see that there's a good, there's an evil position, there's an eating vegetables position, there's an eating meat position. And you're starting to get a sense that there are a lot of positions and neither one is absolutely correct. We're just seeing things and the only way we can, which is from the outside of a nubby ball. So spirit would be at the center. Spirit is the perfect balance, which we're not really capable of being imperfect human beings. And once you can see these 4 points plotted clearly, throw in another random position and plot it and its opposite viewpoint. So you might want to plot a breatharian who thinks we shouldn't eat food at all. And you might want to plot a spot on there for somebody who just wants to follow the standard American diet. And by this time, you've plumped out the issue and you can make guesses as to what the whole of the issue might look like. And you can see that now that you look at it and you look at all these different positions, I'm just using good and evil and then the concept of food consumption for examples. You can use any example you want, but you can really see that there's no point fault finding other people. There's no point arguing and fighting and trying to convert people into your way of thinking. Instead, you can just be confident that you have a valid place on the nubby ball. Your position is valid and it matters. And it doesn't matter how other people see it, but you can keep that confidence within yourself and to soldier on in your own life to make changes and to do better and to not be so freaked out. And, I used to always worry, oh, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe, I didn't have self-confidence. Well, now I know that my intuition and my, where I fall on a nubby ball is absolutely true for me and I get to keep it. It's mine. Nobody can take that away. So congratulations, you now have a quantum view of the bigger picture as suggested by the original issue. Now you're in a position to make some educated guesses and draw some holistic conclusions. You can understand matters more fully and better execute your strategic planning. When you practice and lengthen the time you spend considering concepts, people, places, and things this way, you can draw quantum conclusions almost instantly, and soon it becomes an automatic system of analysis. I believe that we're already using a version of the nubby ball tool subconsciously, which gives us our intuition and our hunches. So it just really helps to dissolve conflict. It really saves time. After a while, you don't need to take issues to the nubby ball because you could just say, hey, it's a nubby ball. I know that. I'm not going to argue with that person. I'm not going to try to convince them. I'm just going to try to live by example, which is a lot more fun, I think. So do either one of you want to say anything before we move on to using it as a tool for the light and shadow self-integration?
No, but I really do understand what you're saying here, and I think that's really having the expanded view of the things that you come in contact with instead of just the singularity is going to be a very interesting concept for a lot of people because a lot of our thinking is very linear.
Yeah, and it's really crazy making, trying to figure everybody out. What are their intentions? What are their motives? What did they mean by that? Even on social media, if you give a thumbs up, a lot of people think that's an insult. They take it as an insult, or they take it as, yeah, yeah, yeah. They don't take it as, yeah, cool, or I agree with it. Do you know what I mean? And so it just takes all of that out of your social programming, and your life just immediately starts to become calmer.
Exactly. Like it's just about perspective, really. And that's a stage of my life that I'm at right now. And I can't wait till Spin gets freed up enough to be able to join me because I think some phenomenal things are about to come down.
Oh, yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Okay, so I'll continue. Hold on, this is only the beginning. Now you're ready to integrate your light body and your shadow bodies. Now that we figured out that, wow, everything is more complex and we don't have to go down all the rabbit holes and figure everything out, we can be confident within our own stance. Now we can use the Nubby ball as a tool for analysis and light shadow self-integration. So if you shine a light on one side of a Nubby ball, you find a light side and a shadow side. Likewise, no matter how much we deny this programmed duality within ourselves and attempt to walk in the light, our shadow side remains. We share a collective consciousness of light and shadow, as well as a personal dichotomy. So take a look at this image. So here again, I've taken a ball and I've split it with North Pole being good and South Pole being evil. And you can see one side is light and one side is shadow. So on the light side, you could be on the good side doing the right thing with the right intention, but you can also do the right thing with the wrong intention. You know, people who are manipulators do that a lot. They will, present the right thing, do the right thing, but they've got a hidden motive or intention that you don't know about. And it always comes out eventually. And that can be kind of crazy making, right? But they can consider themselves all in the light. Virtue signaling falls into that category. Very, very different than doing the right thing with the right intention. Okay. And then on the southern hemisphere, we've got doing the wrong thing for the right intention. I'll come back to that. And doing the wrong thing with the wrong intention. And you could argue doing the right thing with the wrong intention might be the same thing as the wrong thing with the wrong intention, but I'm trying to just break it down into more simple concepts. But quite often we do the wrong thing with the right intention. And I really saw this when I was raising my children, where I would take a stand with them or make them do something because I believed it was the right thing to do, but it wasn't with the right intention. I wasn't really accepting their personal take on the world, their perspective. What was really best for them at the time turned out later in life for me to have a whole bunch of regrets because it wasn't the best thing for them. So there's just an example of doing the wrong thing with the right intention, but we try, we do our best. That's all you can do. And it sure beats doing the wrong thing with the wrong intention. We're all evolving. We're all learning. That's all we can do. So when we consider the light side and the shadow side of ourselves, it's good to remember that we are complex and things are not as simple as when we considered things from a dualistic perspective. When we consider our more visible light side, we often forget that sometimes we do the right things for the wrong reasons. And when we consider our suppressed shadow side, we remember that sometimes we do the wrong thing for the right reasons. And a real classic example is I knew somebody whose father used to steal, and I thought that was terrible and a terrible example for the children. And he corrected me and he said, no, you don't understand. If my father didn't steal, we wouldn't have had enough to eat. I never looked at it that way before, right? And I'm not saying his father was right or wrong. I'm using that as an example. So that's considering a shadow side. Sometimes we do the wrong thing for the right reasons. And this illustrates the futility of dualistic concepts like good and evil. An honest self-examination is needed in order to reveal that sometimes light is not always the best path in life, and there is value in the shadow side. And I've given 2 books that have helped me a lot that I recommend as reading. If you want to take these out of the library or order them online, you can come back to this page. There's no point in me reading all the details. It's just the technical information to help you to find the books if you're interested. The Denial of Death is really good about our collective shadow. So when we get together in groups, we tend to form group opinions that maybe if we were on our own, we wouldn't carry that same opinion, right? And then there's the personal shadow, which is our own personal duality. In the beginning, most of us shy away from shadow work, usually out of fear. But if we do not do this type of personal work, we can look forward to denial. The shadow remains hidden and is activated fairly regularly without our conscious knowledge or consent. We do not get the results we wish for in our relationships or in life in general. And that might be just at times blurting out something that was mean or unkind. It might be just denying the fact that we need to look at our diet or our exercise or how we're treating the temple body. It can be in so many different ways. And then there's projection. We blame others for their faults, and our relationships tend to fail to develop fully and remain superficial. We get caught up in victim role playing, and our most important relationships tend to fail. So what's really common is what we call the victim triangle, where you might be in a situation where your feelings get really hurt. And you go, oh, I'm really have hurt feelings. That person. So right away, you're projecting onto them all of the blame. They're a terrible person. And then somebody else comes in as the rescuer. Oh, that's too bad. And you're both all poo-pooing on the victimizer, when really it's a failure to take responsibility for the part that we share in everything. And it's much easier for us to project onto other people the parts of us that we can't look at. And that's why we want to do shadow work. And the third reason, or the third thing that happens if we don't do shadow work, is our failure to evolve. We do not get to know ourselves, which impedes self-reflection and personal growth. We spoke earlier about arrested development. That comes in, learning how to deal with people who have arrested development comes in step 2. And there are people that sometimes never grow up. They never learn to step outside of themselves and take responsibility. And they're always looking to be rescued, and they're always playing the victim role. And it's no good. Doesn't help anybody. It's just a big drag on society, really. However, if we boldly go where few have gone before and we choose to do an honest appraisal of our whole selves, we can look forward to less denial and less subconscious sabotage. Life becomes richer and more rewarding. Without the need for projection, we no longer bully, scapegoat, or stereotype others, because we can accept folks as they really are. We will find little reason for dramatic entanglements, so relationships become deeper and more fulfilling. And we really see this on a global scale, where we view a certain national group as being evil and the enemy, and, we're going to send soldiers over and we're going to kill them all, Once we get an understanding of our own shadow, we don't think like that anymore. We understand there's value in all ways of being. We may not personally want to follow it or live that way, but we can see that there's different systems that work differently for different people, and world peace really depends on us doing shadow work on a personal level as well as on a collective level.
Many of us have now discovered that the world is not what we thought it was, and global events have left many feeling unsettled and even isolated. Karen Holton offers vital services that may be just what you need as she supports your journey into the weird and wonderful. Karen offers awakening support and ascension consultation to support individuals on their journey. For more details, check out her various vital services. Once you find your way through this process, there are many blessings on the other side. Visit Karen's website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, to get started today.
And finally, when we choose to do an honest appraisal of our whole selves, we take responsibility for our actions. We are now able to engage in meaningful self-reflection and confidently make our own necessary adjustments for personal growth and evolution. Now we can truly begin to thrive and find the happiness and the contentment that we all deserve. So here's some recommendations for doing shadow work. You can use the Nubby Ball tool to plot your known positive attributes and consider the opposite attributes you may want to avoid seeing. So, for instance, you may think that you're all in light and love all the time, but if you really want to get honest, you can plot the opposite side of the ball and go, okay, when am I not loving? When am I really not loving? And then you think about it. And you can think of times in your life where you were not loving at all. And there's no shame in this. We all have a shadow side. None of us are perfect. And we're all still valuable and worthy of love as we are, warts, bumps, and all. Now take time for meaningful self-reflection and become more aware of all of your uncensored thoughts and feelings. Once you see your shadow emerging, do not censor yourself. Instead, notice how you feel. So if I'm getting, a nasty thought, what I would consider for myself a nasty thought come up, instead of brushing it away, I sit with that thought. But instead of judging it, is it good or bad, or I shouldn't be feeling this way, I'm aware of my feelings. How do I feel in my gut, in my pit of my stomach? How do I feel within my soul? Because right away, what we're doing is realizing that we're having a frequency change. The frequency that we're now holding in our body is quite different. And that is the really important part of this lesson. Without judgment or condemnation, thank your shadow self for the information it gives you through thoughts and feelings. Look for the wisdom and the warnings within the nonsense. We don't have to like this part of us. We are only looking for the essence of the message. So we all have an internal asshole, all of us. We all do. You can't get away from it. But once we listen to it, it takes on a very different form. So I've got, I'll make a comment in my mind and I'll go, wow, where did that come from? I don't think that way. And then I'll go, well, maybe I do. So instead of judging it and pushing it away, I look for the message. What's the message here? Is this a warning from my shadow side that I have to be careful around certain people? Or is this a warning that maybe I need to look at more of the bigger picture and not be so naive? This exercise might feel really icky at first, but with practice, these shadow messages become less disturbing over time. You are now listening to these previously tuned out thoughts and images so they can naturally dial themselves down. So now what happens for me is I'll get a thought that I don't, I'm kind of surprised that I'm even having it in the first place. And instead of just judging it and pushing it away, I go, oh, that's just my internal asshole. She's got her own opinions. And there's a saying, it's not very nice, but it's sort of true. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and everybody thinks that everybody else's stinks. And just don't take it so seriously. Just go, okay, that's my asshole self. Okay, is there a message here? Is there something I need to look at? If not, just, okay, whatever. And it really quickly evaporates. And it dials itself down. In the beginning, the messages can be really disturbing. And we're shocked at some of the thoughts we have and the inclinations and beliefs that we have. We go, no, that's not me. But yes, it is. And we need to take a look at it. And then it dials down over time so that it doesn't have to be disturbing because now you're paying attention. The goal is not to, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I've been listening to you, like, even like during your show, like you've mentioned about your internal asshole coming up. And since, like, I've been listening, like, that's helped me identify, like, within myself too. And it's showing me, like, okay, I've got, either I have something to release or something to heal. And it just makes it so much easier to identify now. It's like, okay, yeah, she's got something to say. Let her have her moment. And then what do I do with this? Do I just let it go, or is it something I need to examine further?
Exactly. And another thing that often happens, in the spiritual community is people will believe that they're having shadow attachments, they're having demon influence, the old saying, the devil made me do it. Again, sometimes that's true, but most likely that's our own shadow that we're completely disconnected to. And once we start allowing that in and go, what feelings are behind this? What's motivating? Where's this coming from? You know?
It's helped me identify the difference between what I like with my like I know like to a certain degree we've all been programmed and all that. And so it's helped me identify like what's mine and what's the voice that's been programmed to like make my self-destruct button. So it's helped me been able to identify both between the two of those too, and it's been so helpful.
Yeah. Something the orientation even brought to light off camera, I guess it would be an off camera epiphany that we had after last week. You made me realize like I have so much respect for the animals that I even eat or the ones I live with and consider pets, but they're my equals as much as possible. And then I realized that I have like almost no respect for the animal I live in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those changes of perspective. Like, why do I respect my huskies physically more than I respect myself, even psychologically? And it's an amazing process once you start to figure it out.
It really is, and it's so liberating. And once we make the shift, that's it, it's done. We've course corrected. We've literally changed our timeline. We've literally banished generations of dysfunctional thinking and programming. It's amazing. So the goal is not to delete the shadow self, but to learn to walk with and learn from our internal shadow partner, light and shadow coexisting together like siblings. Some are only children, but those of us who have siblings know there's some of us that just fight like cats and dogs, never see eye to eye on anything. That can be very much in the beginning what it's like when we start to do shadow work, but eventually that settles down. We start to grow up, we start to evolve. And now we can learn from the important messages from both sides, which facilitates integration. In truth, not one of us is good or evil. We are products of our spirit, genetics, environment, and our social upbringing. Light-shadow integration more than doubles what we know. And personal awareness is personal power. The other thing, too, about really knowing who we are and what we're made out of, people can't screw with us anymore. They can't screw with our heads. So as empaths, we're often sucked in by people that are more narcissistic. They lack empathy. They use us and abuse us. Well, guess what? That doesn't happen anymore because we know who we are. And I think this is really, excuse me, foundational for grounding. And that's why it's corresponding to the black chakra that's about 10 inches below our feet. It's a deeply grounding process. So some of you have heard of the hero's journey. Well, when we're doing this kind of work, we're definitely doing the hero's journey. And you'll see it's like a clock face. You get a call to adventure, you decide to step out and do something different. Classic example is you, Dawn, stepping out and realizing that you were having transdimensional experiences and wanting to find out what that was about. You were leaving the known world and stepping into the unknown world. And as you cross that threshold, you find helpers and mentors. You have challenges. You have temptation. Often we just want to scurry back to where it's safe and calm because things get really wild sometimes. At the 6 o'clock position, we end up in the abyss, which is also called death and rebirth. At that point, a lot of us go through a period of depression, some anxiety. It's called the dark night of the soul, but it doesn't last forever. And the more we stick with the process, the better our transformation becomes. We come out of it. There's a period of what we call atonement, where we realize what we're made out of, where we want to go, our course correct in the now so that tomorrow's become better. And then we return to the known world, a much improved human being. So hopefully I have given you enough information to encourage you to set out on your own hero's journey. This is not an easy path, but one that is very rewarding. Each time we progress through this cycle, we get better at it, we grow stronger, and we evolve to a life that we never imagined possible. If you are now completing Step 9 Black, Introduction to the Nubby Ball Tool and Light Shadow Integration, you have already crossed the threshold and are well on your way. I wish you every blessing possible in this life, and I'm here to give you the support you may need from time to time. Check out my vital services offered through my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com. And again, the links will be below. The advantage also to purchasing the PDF is all the links are embedded. So that all you have to do is click on wherever the script is in blue, and it takes you right into the program or my website or wherever you need to be. And $3.99 is pretty inexpensive, but it's in Canadian funds, so it's even much less than that if you're paying with euros or with US funds. So it's really a very small donation and a very worthwhile product to own. So this, if you had the PDF, would link you right into the Step 9 to see the other videos. This concludes the Quantum Health Transformation version 3.0 Advanced Training for Healers and Alternative Health Practitioners, Step 9 Black, Introduction to the Nubby Ball Tool and Light Shadow Integration. Now, even though it's called Advanced Training for Healers and Alternative Healing Practitioners, it's meant for everybody because we're all healers, especially once we start to open up to a new form of spirituality and we become more spiritual people. We're all healers. We're all alternative health practitioners. And again, people, you can all contact me if you want more information or you want assistance. And I'm grateful for all the forces that assist me with the production of this free 9-step online course. Before we conclude, I'm wondering if there is any discussion, Dawn or Spinja, that you have, any questions that have arisen or anything that you want to say about it. We'll finish up too once I close this.
Yeah.
I don't think this is just, it's been, like I said, it's been very helpful for me identifying things like that I've been trying to heal. It's like I suspected, like it's filling in the gaps. And I know like even if I wasn't at the point I was, like I think this would be very good for somebody that's just starting and rubbing their eyes, and like you're just tired. Like I'm it's one of the things it helped show me is how I was inadvertently used as a product of the system to keep other people down, and I had no idea. Like the whole the victimhood thing, like I see that now where and it's painful to say, but I was draining people and I had no idea that I was doing it.
Yeah.
I thought, like I was telling my story because, and just as a precautionary tale, like there's people out there that exist like this, but all the while I didn't realize that I was draining people. And it just, like I forgive myself now because I see it, and I'm working to do different. And that's where this comes in. Like it helps you, like you have that momentary, oh my goodness, I can't believe, but it's like you didn't know you were doing it.
Yeah.
And so this is helping shed light on how you've been manipulated to manipulate others.
Exactly. And it's considered normal. And if we don't look at it, we don't really even understand what's wrong or what's going on, And I'm going to speak to that a little bit more once I close this out.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Don.
I just wanted to comment on the visual representation you had of the hero's journey. And as you were talking about it, I was a lot able to look at it comparatively in my mind to my own spiritual awakening. And I can practically put dates, times, and labels and
Yeah.
names to my metaphysical awakening as a comparative note to this. Like, of course, like the supernatural aid came via Maya through Rob, through you guys, like, and I can even tell, like, where I almost decided to just stay stuck in the SSP part of my metaphysical awakening instead of exploring it further. I had to kill that part of me in the death and abyss and rebirth, because then I wanted to know about everything. Like, I
Yeah.
can seriously visualize my own awakening through this tool. So thank you. That's phenomenal.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, this is not originally mine. If you Google or go to any search engine and put in the hero's journey, there's tons, tons and tons and tons and tons of this information. So obviously, this is a route that is not, you don't hear about it, but once you discover it, you go, oh my God, there's millions of people that are familiar with this process and offering us some help. So
Yes.
absolutely. Next week, we're going to get into step 8, red, grounding and core belief system. So we're going to look at all kinds of technologies that we never considered technologies before, simple things that we can be doing to get really grounded. And it's a really good foundation for building our lives. And also how to take a look at our core belief systems and start to improving that, because what we believe ultimately dictates what is. As you can see in this PDF, there's links to everything, all kinds of free resources. And this is just my end page here. So I'm going to stop the share and come back. I wanted to tell you guys something. This is not very nice, but this actually happened to me and it helped me so much. My daughter, I had a lot of problems. It's not like I just became enlightened and figured all this out. It took years, guys, years of development to get to this point. And at one point, my daughter said to me, because I was going through a really bad time, which I was always going through a bad time, which again gets into me sharing my victim story with people. I wasn't really taking responsibility. I also spent a lot of time as a rescuer, and I get burnt out all the time as a rescuer. It was awful. And often I'd find out later that no, things were not the way I was told they were. And, it just is such a mess. But anyway, that often would result in me having, depression, anxiety, and just not doing well in my life. And one day my daughter said to me, you know what, Mom? She said, if you want to live your life with your head up your ass, that's your business. But don't expect me to have my head up your ass to help keep you company. And I was shocked. And of course, I was deeply hurt at the time, but I went away. I didn't get mad at her. I went away and I thought about it. And I thought, oh my God, she's absolutely right, you know? And now that I've become, a public figure, I don't talk about my problems to anybody because they're mine. And the other thing too is sometimes it's embarrassing. And also I got myself into this, I can get myself out. And I know what I need to do about it. And there's nothing anybody else can do for me. It's up to me to do it because I'm a grown up and I can do that. But, that little analogy, I'm not telling people that to shock them. It's just my daughter was right on the money with that. And I had
Yeah.
been, expecting my children, as they were, adults, to be my support people. And it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair and it wasn't right. So there's another example of my inner asshole and me, be exposing it and learning how to deal with it, you know. But
Yeah.
this whole victim triangle is a real problem. So, people are like, that person over there, they did this, they did that. And then the rescuer comes in. Oh, you poor thing. Oh, that evil person over there. And everybody just gets burnt out. My son, who's also a very wise soul, he says, Mom, you do you and I'll do me. He says, if we all just looked after our own business and our own selves, we wouldn't have to run around rescuing everyone else. And when we're running around rescuing everyone else, we're not there for ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
But I was taught, being involved in religion, I was often taught, no, you have to be a good Christian. You have to offer love and support and resources. And, you know, if your neighbor has no shirt and you have two, you give one of yours, or you give them the shirt off your back. You know what I mean? And it's very self-sacrificing, but it doesn't work. And so anyway, that's just how, you know, more ways of illustrating the lesson. So yeah, so I'm really grateful to my guides for giving me the Nubby Ball tool. It's really helped me a lot because I was very limited in my thinking. I was a very black and white thinker, and I was judgmental, and I also wasn't protecting myself because I wasn't listening to my shadow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's about it for the workshop, but I'm happy to hear anything the two of you have to say, or
Um, I'm going to do a shameless self-promotion here. I had an absolutely mind-blowing interview with a 16-year-old fairly aware starseed yesterday on the Round Table show, which you've been on, and he's going to be appearing under the screen name SOS Radio, or short form Ray. And it was absolutely astonishing to listen to what these kids know. Like, it's a question that's been hanging in the air in our community lately. Like, what does wave three think? Like, anybody familiar with Dolores Cannon knows the three waves. Well, the three waves are our kids, and some of them are turned on and some of them are aware. And it was about 90 minutes of me just asking any question you could possibly want to ask an aware starseed that's that age. And he's ready to come out of hiding, and it's both of our birthday tomorrow, so that was the fun part
yes,
of all of
happy birthday, Dawn.
Thank you.
I knew it was
And
March 4th, but boy, March 4th came up quick.
right?
Yeah,
Well,
this year is
and,
zipping by. Oh my goodness. Although the good
this
news, spring will be here soon. But thanks
this
for, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say this young man is one of my reasons why I want to do this course and why I want to fix my stuff, is because, you know, like I see how I've passed on the toxic traits that I was shown, and I don't know any other way. So it's up to me, you know, like I have a choice. I can either pass on what I know, which isn't necessarily good, or I can keep searching for answers and keep trying to improve myself and just be upfront with them and say, hey, bud, I have no clue.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to find answers and I'm trying to do better. And you know, like this is why, like, I'm so grateful for this course, because you know, it's giving me the answers that I'm looking for to improve myself so that I can be a better parent and better guide him.
Yeah, this course, putting it together, has been very interesting, and it's evolved over the years. But you know what? I went to a lot of parenting groups. They never taught me about any of this stuff.
No,
I've been to mental health. They never taught me about any of this stuff. I've been
no.
to a lot of churches. They never told me about any of this stuff. And so it became really important for me to put the material together as if I had had it when I was going through my awakening process, it would have really helped. But you know, it happened as it happened, and I have it out to the public now, and that's important. And I think it's interesting that now it's in its pretty much final evolution, and now is when the most people need it. So it's like
Yes,
perfect timing. So I'm
yes.
really, really grateful for that. So yeah, so for the listeners and the viewers, the links are below. Please do check out Dawn and Spinja's channel and their contact information. Watch their content, like their content, share it. You know, it's really amazing. It's been a real pleasure to meet both of you and get to know you. I'm very proud of you, and you've made my life better, and I appreciate you both very much. And that's about it. Do you have any last comments before we say goodbye?
No, just thank you, like, for including us in this adventure, because it's very, very much appreciated. Like, I wish I could go back and tell myself, like 6 or 7 months ago when I first heard you, like, hey, Kyla, this is what's going to happen. Like, if I knew. And so I'm very grateful. And as far as like Spinge's helpful tips, I've kind of hit a bit of a wall, because I've been taking care of things on a personal level. So I haven't forgot about anybody. I've just there's been some stuff come up. I've had to work some overtime and dig us out of some messes. But I will be sharing as soon as I get the time to actually sit still and shoot some videos.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
On my end, again, I just want to compliment the course, because I had really reached a point in my own awakening, which just started in September, where I was like, great, I can astral travel. Great, I understand that I was in the SSP. Great, I understand about aliens, Arcturians, and all of these things around me. Now what? Well, now what came into my inbox on Facebook, and her name was Karen Holton. And that's all I can say why I enjoy this course so much, because I asked now what?
Yeah, what? Yeah.
And my inbox went, well, here.
Thank you. That's what I want. I want to be used for the good of humankind. Otherwise, what's the point of being? I'm an old lady now. I want to be a blessing to the planet as much as possible. But thank you very much for your vote of confidence and for all your kind words. So that's it for today. Quantum Guide Show coming up on Wednesday. I have a new guest called Gary May. He's an incredibly talented friend of mine. He's a comedian. He's an actor. He's a musician. He's he's the host of Camp G-May, which is live open mic jam every Saturday night. And also he has free online music festivals. And he's going to give some predictions for the future for 2080. So that'll be really interesting. And then I'll be back again next Sunday with Canadian Spinja and Don Rogers, and we're going to delve into step 8. So that's about it for today. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and we'll say bye-bye for now.
Lion only makes you hurt. Denying only makes it worse. Love and surrender seem the fastest way to bring an end to bitter, painful days. Somewhere down the stars are falling like jewels upon a thin black veil. Will thrill to hear your calling. 5 seconds seems like 5 billion years. 10,000 galaxies away, yet still so near.